This is kind of a weird one, and a disappointing one, because I was very excited in my last video to check out Ground War and Invasion in Modern Warfare 2, and today, I finally got to check out the latter of those two, and unfortunately I have very mixed feelings. The mode has potential, don't get me wrong, but things don't quite mesh together as well as I'd like them to, so I'd like to talk about that today, and point out some things that didn't quite work as well as intended for me. The mode itself is a 40v40 battle with 20 AI and 20 humans on either side, and speaking about those AI, for the amount they showed off about them before the beta and before the game release, the impact they have is very minimal. They're not as advanced as they were claimed, and they're not a challenge for the player to face. You can mow them down and they won't even notice you if you put half a mag into them. Now, the biggest explanation I can have for this, aside from false marketing, is that they've been toned down extremely for this mode. I have a feeling in DMZ and in Warzone they'll be a lot more lethal, but I've got no proof for that, so all I have to go off is Invasion, and here, they're a non-entity, they're not a threat, they're just cannon fodder, which is maybe what was intended, but they still don't feel like a worthy inclusion to the mode, aside from to pad out the battle and make it feel a little bit bigger. Unfortunately, I did run into a few bugs, like lighting indoors looking like this, with some weird aliasing, definitely not intended. Some enemies parachuting and falling through the floor was a big one that I saw. Vehicle desync, I think this is, of maybe the code trying to interpolate where a player is if they have bad ping, leading to vehicles looking like this while they're moving, and making you feel sick when you're inside them and making it impossible to shoot. In fairness, after my first 2 games, this did clear up and didn't happen again, but it was very distracting in the 2 games that it was present, but I'm assuming this was a server thing, and it did fix itself, but it is worth mentioning. Another weird one was water, in fact, actually. For the amount that they also advertised water as a big part of the gameplay, I didn't really use it much. I mean, it's not integrated into the map in a meaningful way, and when I did jump in and start shooting under there, I had the muzzle flash sprite stay on screen for quite a long time, longer than intended. This is definitely another visual bug with shooting underwater, and something that needs to be fixed before launch. Anyway, we've had a few negatives, and here's a few positives. The map design has really good art direction yet again, and is consistent throughout. It looks like a war zone, it feels like a war zone. Buildings have many levels, the streets are littered with debris, and it all does mesh together visually very nicely, and it does feel nice to play. It's got a good flow to it. The objectives though, not so much. This is where I get a little bit torn, because there is no real objective in Invasion apart from kill the enemy team and get more armor and vehicles as you do it. This can be a positive because it can add quite a chill feeling to the mode. You can hop in and play however you like, but it can also feel quite aimless. You're sitting there in this big firefight, but you don't really feel like you're doing anything. Now that can, yes, be a positive because you feel like you're in a big war, you're a small cog in a big machine, but for players that really want to feel like they have some agency in the battle or want to capture some objectives, it doesn't really fit the bill for that. I'm assuming the other Ground War mode will fit that a lot more, but for Invasion it is just a big scrap, essentially. This is the first time I've really played around with big vehicles in COD other than the trucks in Warzone, and I also have mixed feelings on those. Obviously every single player doesn't want to carry around a launcher to take down vehicles, so they can all be taken down with normal firearms, which is a weird thing. It feels odd coming from Battlefield and not being able to dent a tank or a helicopter with a gun, and then coming over to this and being able to shoot a helicopter down with your assault rifle, but I do understand it for balance. There's a lot of good vehicle variety for each team, large helicopters, small helicopters, tanks, transports, and they have some decent effects. When crashing, the jets look great. When being shot down, the helicopters kind of just statically explode, and the effects are okay. I've been spoiled by 2042's explosion effects, which look incredible, but these aren't bad. They're better than passable, definitely. One issue I did have was the helicopter blades. As you can see, they look like this, and they're not the most polished thing. I think we had a similar issue in 2042 at launch, and it just looked off. It's something that's probably going to get fixed, but seeing that does break immersion a little bit. And all of this kind of sucks, you know? I mean, I was really excited for this mode, and I am having fun with it, but as I said, it just doesn't really gel together in the way I want. But sometimes, it does. The feeling of being in a massive war, on occasion, is really sold to you. When kill streaks are coming in, players are piloting vehicles and driving cars, and infantry are fighting a massive battle on the ground, it can all come together to be something really overwhelming, but also awe-inspiring. It's odd. When it works, it really does work, but that's only on occasion at the moment because of the amount of issues that I'm facing trying to play a match of this. The game seems to struggle with a lot of vehicles on screen, and as awesome as it is to see AC-130s fly above and stealth bombers take out armor, it gets distracting when they're stuttering through the sky or animations don't work properly, and I have run into this quite a few times. I'm not annoyed at this mode, I'm just slightly disappointed, because it didn't really live up to what I wanted it to be, and maybe that's on me for setting too high expectations, but I would be lying to you if I said that there wasn't real potential for this mode, because there is. It's fun when it works, it's immersive when it works, it's chaotic, and it's something that is quite special, but it just needs that polish. It really does, and with the time left from here to launch, unless this is quite an old build, I don't really see it being as polished as it needs to be when it comes out in the full release. But maybe I'll be proved wrong. I hope I'll be proved wrong because, like I said, there's a lot of fun to be had here. But compared to the experience I had last weekend with the smaller modes, it just doesn't flow quite as well as the smaller modes do. And that's what COD is good at, the smaller modes. When they try their hand at the big ones, aside from Warzone, it usually doesn't go that well, but I can see it really growing from here. Anyway, you've heard about my mixed feelings for long enough. It's been about 7 minutes, so thank you for spending that 7 minutes with me. But negativity isn't usually how I do things, so I'm going to leave you with something positive. I'm going to leave you with this.